It's 6:15 a.m. on the 26th of August 2025. Over Crimea's Kerch Strait, morning haze hangs low as watch crews pour coffee and reset scopes. Then the tone hits shrill, insistent, impossible to ignore. Unknown tracks bloom on the screens, low and fast, skimming the water like thrown stones. Ukrainian Neptune RC cruise missiles have slipped the horizon, their guidance updates in flight. Each one hugs terrain to dodge radar. At the same moment, a swarm of small suicide drones lifts towards Simferopol Air Base, weaving through ground clutter, hunting for hot metal. Russian S-400 crews sprint to vehicles, cover slam, panels light. Pilots run for Mi-8 and Mi-24 helicopters, but fuel trucks and rotor stacks already sparkle with fragments. First impacts thud, then a rolling crack that turns windows white. The bridge at Kerch looms to the east, steel, concrete, symbol, lifeline. If the batteries miss the next volley, that artery closes. For crews on both sides, the next 90 seconds decide who owns the morning. In Crimea, shipping lanes near the Kerch Strait carry fuel, grain, and supplies that ripple far beyond the front line. Every tanker and freighter passing here links daily routines in Europe, the Middle East, even America. Ukraine's strike is not random, it's aimed at cracking Russia's most critical artery. The Kerch Bridge is more than steel and concrete. It is Moscow's pride, a symbol of control and the supply chain for troops fighting in southern Ukraine. If it goes down, thousands of soldiers risk isolation. Russia knows this. That's why its S-400 batteries and FSB border outposts guard the strait like fortresses. Simferopol Air Base houses Mi-8 transport helicopters and Mi-24 attack gunships, flying workhorses meant to respond fast to raids. Yet the Ukrainian Neptune RC cruise missiles now cut through those defenses while drones dive onto the flight line. Each impact rips at Russia's sense of safety on its own claimed soil. For Ukraine, this is more than a hit and run. It shows Kyiv can pierce deep into occupied Crimea, rattling Russian logistics and shaking morale. It forces Moscow to spend resources patching holes instead of pressing offensives. The world watches. If Ukraine can repeatedly strike here, Russia's image of dominance begins to crumble. And the stakes don't stop at the battlefield. Insurance premiums spike for cargo in the Black Sea. Traders hesitate. Allies measure the risk of standing firm versus stepping back. Every successful strike raises questions about escalation, questions that ripple straight into NATO councils and global markets. The confrontation is sharp and simple. Ukraine pushes harder, Russia refuses to bend. If you were there, would you stand with Kyiv's gamble or Moscow's defense? Comment 1 for Ukraine, 9 for Russia, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next strike. 6:16 a.m. Radar blooms stretch across the Kerch Strait. Operators call bearings in clipped bursts. Consoles chirp warnings faster than hands can silence them. Ukrainian Neptune RC missiles ride the surface, using sea clutter to hide. A pair heads for the FSB border compound. Another arcs toward the naval fuel farm. 6 hours, 16 minutes, and 40 seconds. Russian crews snap launch covers on S-400 canisters. White Lances climb, seekers hunting for a clean return. One intercept detonates high, throwing a bright halo. It buys seconds, not safety. The Neptunes jink, update guidance, and regain tracks. One skims piers. A second veers inland past power lines. 6 hours, 17 minutes, and 5 seconds. Impact. The FSB post erupts glass and antenna masts hurled like straw. Radio traffic cuts mid-word. A pressure wave ripples across the harbor. Alarms overlap with sirens ashore. Over Simferopol, the drone swarm drops through cloud. Gunners swing barrels up and hammer. Some drones burst, too many do not. They rake the flight line, strike a parked Mi-8, and rip open a fuel truck. Flame races under rotor arcs. A Mi-24 tries to taxi clear, but its pod cooks off and the gunship topples. Secondary blasts chase crews into trenches. 6 hours, 17 minutes, and 40 seconds. On the strait, patrol boats weave around smoke columns. Command posts shout, "Shield the bridge!" Civil traffic locks up on the spans. Drivers abandon cars, sprinting for rails. To Moscow, the bridge is lifeline. To Kyiv, it's leverage. Hidden Ukrainian teams watch satellite and drone feeds. Target burning, hangar breached, fuel farm hit. Each confirmation steadies nerves and opens the door to the next move. 6 hours, 18 minutes, and 10 seconds. More launches. Russian interceptors rise again, paired with short-range systems. Decoys scatter chaff. A Neptune threads the gap, drops lower, and vanishes behind a wave crest. When it reappears, it is inside the last defensive ring. Another missile angles landward, hinting at a simultaneous strike against the naval depot. 6 hours, 18 minutes, and 40 seconds. The first wave has done its work. Fires burn, crews scramble, lines fray. Then fresh tracks bloom faster, tighter, pointed at the Kerch Bridge itself. The opening punch is over. The real test is just now arriving. 6:19 a.m. The second wave streaks over the horizon. Russian scopes flood with hostile tracks more than one console can track cleanly. The Neptunes now fly paired with decoy drones, forcing split-second choices. Several interceptors chase ghosts. Real missiles keep coming low and straight. The tactic is brutal but simple. Overload, confuse, press. At Simferopol, fire crews fight burning helicopters while fresh drones buzz in. Gun teams pivot, barrels glowing. Some attackers fall in sparks, others slip through and punch into hangars. Foam trucks spray white arcs. Fuel flashes again, rolling heat across the tarmac. Pilots try to tow surviving -8 seconds to dispersal pads, but hot engines and open doors make perfect targets for seekers. Russian commanders order patrol boats into a shield line across the Kerch Strait. Crews clip safety lines and man deck guns, eyes locked on the bridge's steel arches. No gap, no retreat. The radio repeats. On the spans, civilian cars sit nose to bumper, doors open, alarms chirping. Police wave people back from the rails. The wind smells like diesel and powder. On the Ukrainian side, controllers in hidden rooms update a simple map. Red for fires, blue for jammers, green for gaps. S-400 reloading. Boat line forming. Follow. On drones launched to pull eyes upward while the next missiles knife and cheap distractions force expensive shots. Coastal batteries time salvos to the patrol boat's turns, when sensors are masked by wake and smoke. 6:20 a.m. Several drones break through. One smashes a patrol boat's forward gun. Another detonates near a fuel barge, throwing a curl of black smoke skyward. The bridge stands, but its guard is bleeding strength and focus. Interceptors rise again. Contrails crossing like latticework. Some kills bloom bright and fade. Yet more missiles hug the water and refuse to die. Truck-mounted guns along the causeway bark. Gaps still open as crews reload. Traffic is frozen. Sirens echo off the arches, and every second feels heavier than the last. 6:21 a.m. The defense tightens. Boats nudge closer, hulls almost touching. Missiles adjust, dipping behind wave crests, then leveling toward the spans. Both sides are past caution now. One breaks, the other holds. If you were standing on the bridge, which fate would you bet on Ukraine's strike or Russia's shield? Comment 1 for Ukraine, 9 for Russia, and subscribe so you're here when the next wave hits. 6:22 a.m. Russian crews finally think they have the missile wave under control when new tracks flicker across their scopes smaller, faster, and hugging the water. These are not Neptunes. They're Ukrainian sea-skimming drones. Low-profile boats packed with explosives, racing toward the Kerch Bridge. Radar can barely hold them. Echoes vanish in the clutter of waves and spray. Defenders snap from sky to sea. Guns tuned for high-flying threats drop hard to waterline. Patrol boats pivot, throwing wakes to block the approach. Orders crackle. Close ranks. Stop them at all cost. The strait fills with spray, smoke, and crossing hulls. One drone slams into a patrol boat's hull, blasting open its side and setting off secondary fires. Another veers at the last second, adjusts course, and drives straight at a bridge pylon. Russian gunners pour fire, tracers stitching the surface. They tear apart one, then two, but more keep coming. From hidden positions, Ukrainian controllers track calmly. 3 passed, 2 destroyed, 1 closing. The tactic is plain missiles from above force Russia to look up, while drones from below knife in unseen. It's a two-pronged strike meant to stretch defenses past breaking. 6:23 a.m. Alarms scream across both banks. Smoke drapes the arches of the Kerch Bridge. Russian officers bark overlapping orders, jammers on, all boats to block, every gun firing at once. The line between control and collapse thins to seconds. The twist is complete. Russia's shield can swat missiles, but sea skimmers turn the strait itself into a battlefield. Each wake could hide the hit that topples the bridge. 6:24 a.m. The last wave converges. Neptune missiles thunder low while sea-skimming drones weave across the chop. Russian defenses are stretched thin S-400 tubes reloading. Short-range guns along the causeway barking. Patrol boats firing through smoke. The Kerch Bridge looms as a gray outline in haze. Steel that might fall within minutes. A Neptune snaps left and slams into the naval depot. A fireball lifts roofing into the sky. Shock rolls across moorings. Another missile angles for the spans and meets an intercept mid-air. The blast rattles the roadway, peppering rails with fragments. Alarms wail across abandoned cars. Close, in kills still throw debris that can damage structures. On the water, 3 drones punch through the screen. One collides with a patrol craft and detonates, flipping the hull. The second takes hits and blooms early. The last keeps coming its wake, stitched by tracers, engines screaming against spray. 6:25 a.m. Russian CIWS mounts snap to continuous fire. At near point blank, a hail of rounds chews into the drone. It erupts in spray just yards from a bridge support. The shock slaps the arches. Windows tremble. Then silence hangs. Defenders exhale, the span is scarred, not fallen. Sensors sweep for leaks, cracks, and displaced bearings. Traffic cameras show rows of abandoned cars with doors ajar. Hazard lights winking in the smoky dawn. On both banks, civilians crouch behind barriers, filming with shaking phones that catch every blast and flare. The cost is steep. The depot burns unchecked. Simferopol Air Base lies torn, with helicopters wrecked and fuel trucks gutted. 2 patrol boats drift, 1 sinking. Russia holds its bridge, but every unit has paid. Ukraine fails to drop the span, yet proves it can reach deep and force Moscow to defend everywhere. 6:26 a.m. Engineers move along the bridge, checking joints and pylons. Divers prepare to survey as currents ease. Command delays, giving all clear. 6:27 a.m. Ukrainian controllers tally damage. Bridge intact. Depot ablaze. Air assets destroyed. Patrol losses confirmed. Moscow frames survival. Kyiv calls it proof of pressure. Both are right. Russia kept its artery. Ukraine forced it to bleed. The clash writes its own sequel. Was this Russia's narrow save or Ukraine's strategic win? Comment 1 for Russia's defense, 9 for Ukraine's strike, and subscribe so you're here when the next round begins. 6:30 a.m. Smoke drifts east over the Kerch Strait. The naval depot burns, Simferopol smolders, and the bridge stands scarred yet intact. Russia calls it a defended lifeline. Ukraine calls it a pierced shield. Both race to frame the day, because first stories tend to harden into memory. For Moscow, the headline is survival. State channels replay intercepts and cheering crews. Engineers in hard hats move along the spans with sensors and paint markers, logging heat, stress, and spall. Off camera, the price is clear. Patrol boats lost, helicopters wrecked, magazines thin, crews spent. To safeguard the bridge tomorrow, assets must shift here today, and every shift opens a gap somewhere else. For Kyiv, the headline is Reach. Drone footage shows the depot ablaze, black columns leaning over the harbor, flight lines shredded. The bridge did not fall, but Russia had to fight in every direction at once. Western analysts see proof that adapted missiles and low-cost drones can bend a dense air defense grid. Ukraine didn't sever the artery, it made it fragile, and fragility drains resources hour by hour. Markets and ministries react. Insurers raise rates for Black Sea routes. Captains weigh detours and delays. NATO planners run new tables in quiet rooms, larger swarms, smarter seekers. salvos from shore. The cost curve flips again, cheap attackers forcing expensive counters. Civilians will remember sirens, stalled traffic, and the wait. Drivers left cars on the spans, filming through smoke while loudspeakers barked orders. Clips surge online, fueling pride, anger, and fear. In a war this public, perception is a weapon that reloads itself. Result: Russia keeps its artery for now. Ukraine proves it can cut deep. Neither bends. Impact: logistics are targets. Ports, depots, and bridges feel suddenly mortal. Both militaries must adapt faster than the other, paying in money, steel, and time. Tonight, the strait remains open, but its margin is thinner than yesterday. The next move will decide whether it stays that way or snaps under pressure. If you had to judge this round, was it Russia's stand or Ukraine's statement? Comment 1 for Russia, 9 for Ukraine, and subscribe to follow the next turn of the war.